Well, hello there, and welcome to Chuck's Captivating Chat. I don't know how captivating it is at the moment and how much of a chat it's going to be. It has been a hell of a day. Oh, Ward, you didn't miss a thing. Thank you for joining me. No, I'm just now signing on, hence I probably look grungy and sweaty and disheveled, but I wanted to at least get on here, and I probably am going to have to explain this again when more people join. But I woke up this morning. My neighbor from down below in my apartment building was pounding on my door, and I was in a deep state of sleep. It's like, what is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? And I got out of bed and I walked to my bathroom and I saw an inch of water, at least an inch of water on my bathroom floor in my hallway. And the sink was overflowing. And there was like a little dribble leak in the faucet or something, but it was enough. I guess it had been going all night long and it filled up the sink. There was a clog somewhere. So all the water overflowed into my bathroom, into my hallway, and then proceeded to go through the ceiling of my neighbor down below. So, ah, this is how I started my day. It has been extraordinarily stressful, and I don't know how long I'm going to be on here today because my plumber is out getting parts at Home Depot right now. So he's going to come back any moment now, and I may have to actually get up in the middle of the show and walk to the door and let him in and direct him back to the bathroom. And I hope you'll please pardon me for that. I know this is not proper procedure, but when have I adhered to proper procedure? Last week, I even had to answer a text message in the middle of the show because it was very important and it was work related. So you've all bared with me. And anyway, let me see the comments here. I see Oates Ward said, "Did I miss it?" And I said, "No, you didn't miss anything." And Diana, oh, thank you. I will thank you for being patient with me. Renee, thank you for coming here. And Kelly and Heidi Christensen and Ward and let's see. Yeah, I think I've acknowledged anyone here, but thank you very much. The reason I'm on here doing a show right now is because of all of you, because you're all loyal to me and you stick it out with me. When I come on at 5:30 or right now today after 6. Today was just a huge emergency, and I almost did not even do a show today, but I thought I owe it to you all to at least come on here for a little bit. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to stay on. Um, and even as I'm speaking, my building manager is on my phone right now, and I was trying to be ever so subtle about it, but there's really no subtle way of doing it. Trying to read a text message and also make eye contact with the camera. Will you please pardon me here because this does concern my my bathroom sink and my floor and the fact that I almost flooded the apartment down below me. Oh my goodness. My goodness, this has been stressful. This has been stressful. Please pardon me here. I'm going to warn you up front. This may happen a few times while I do this show right now. And this is why I almost considered not doing a show because I didn't want to be rude to all of you. But pardon me, I have to just make sure this is okay. So anyway, looks like it's all right for right now. The plumber's going to be here in a few minutes with parts. And so, as I said, I may have to get up during the show and let him in. But it was really frightening for me because, well, my first thought was, am I going to be held liable for this? When you cause water damage to the upper floor of an apartment and it goes down below, I worried about that possible liability. And I also worried about, things like mold damage and weakening the floors, the water coming through, but I think it's gonna be okay. I think it will. I d you know, Sorry, Joyce isn't here right now, Joyce Petrus, my fabulous astrologer, because I would love to know what my astrological forecast says for today. Does it involve a lot of water? Does it involve blockage and water? But it was just a horrible way to start the day. Well, water, water everywhere. Um, Let me see. The Heidi Christensen. I wanted to update you all to tell you that my sweet Doug, the dog, that had emergency surgery last night for a complete blockage of small intestines. Is your dog okay? Is your dog okay? Let me see here. I was trying to read the rest of the message. But I'm so sorry that happened. I hope your dog is okay. Let me scroll down here. Oh, they haven't released him yet, but he's doing okay. He survived the surgery. I told the story on here, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, of my late cat, Charlie, my previous Siamese cat, and, how he had to have 3 surgeries in 1 week. But the first one, what seems like these things always happen on either a Sunday morning or a holiday. In this case, it was 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning, and I had to rush him to an animal emergency room, which I'm sure did not help my very costly bill to save his life. It ended up being more than $5,000 by the time I was done. But even today, because today was a holiday, Martin Luther King Day, which I very much respect and honor. But the fact is, any holiday, I don't care what it is, it makes it more difficult when you need to get a plumber on an emergency notice. And I had a very important banking thing I needed to do today, but the banks were closed, post offices were closed. You know how that goes. It's like when I used to work my job. I work more independently right now and do a lot of freelancing, but when I was working my more formal job in West Hollywood, when I was in the health industry with Dr. Whimsy Anderson, um, they often made us work on holidays. So holidays were kind of non-existent for me. I think we got Christmas off, but there were times Christmas would fall on my regular day off. So I didn't get any compensation or anything. It was just like a non-holiday even there, and or that would happen sometimes with Thanksgiving, and they used to give that to us. But over the years, they just started taking away the holidays. You didn't get 4th of July off anymore, Thanksgiving off, so forth. And unfortunately, that seems to be the trend with a lot of businesses. Sometimes when I've gone into a grocery store or a Target, particularly around holiday time, I've always conveyed my sincere, heartfelt sympathy to those people that they have to work on that day. But then they usually will say to me, "Oh, but we get double or triple time or something." Some even tell me they volunteer to do that. In my case, my work didn't even give us that. And so I came to start looking at holidays as the days the banks are closed and we can't get any mail. And that was about all it amounted to. But I'm glad for the people who do get them. And I'm way behind on my comments here because I am rambling. But I just wanted to tell you why I did not get on here until 6 o'clock today. I could have logged on maybe around 5:30, but I was having to go back and forth with my plumber in the bathroom, and my building manager was on the phone, and it just didn't seem conducive to try to do a show. So I'm gonna try to make this work, at least as long as I can. Um, but anyway, Heidi, I hope your dog will be fine. And by the way, Heidi, I'm sorry, I said Holly, that's another friend. Heidi, I hope you've had a chance to check your emails because I did the artwork of your father. I haven't heard from you yet, but I guess you've just had a lot going on. I just mainly want to know if you're happy with the art, or if you don't see the email, let me know and I will resend it to you tonight. And I had a lot of fun doing that for you because you shared with me the lovely story about your father. You just sounded like a very dear man. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do the artwork for you. I knew it was gonna mean a lot to you, but it was also fun to do a little tribute to him. He sounded very generous and kind and loving, and if you don't I hope you don't mind me saying this because I know it's personal, but how he put on his Santa Claus costume and give out toys to children, and I could just see because I can read energies, I could just see the love and the joy in his eyes, and I could tell how much you loved your dad. I've often said it's boys with their mothers and girls with their fathers. It just seems to be the case with the bond. Um, but I hope everything's okay for your dog. And as I said, I've gone through that myself, and I know firsthand how harrowing it can be because our pets are our family. And I remember when my cat was very sick, I was spending a lot of time at the veterinary hospitals. I was spending a lot of time sitting in the waiting rooms with all the other people with their sick puppies and kitties. And I'd see people like crying and holding their dogs and their cats. And I felt a kinship with those people. Those people I think we all felt like family, kindred spirits when we would sit in that emergency room with our beloved pets, and we were all going through it in our own ways. And I remember there was this couple. It was two men who were married, and they came out with their German Shepherd and the dog. Its entire side had been shaved bald and had must have been like 18-inch long scar with stitches in it, and they said the dog had cancer surgery, and they were both wiping tears from their eyes going, "Oh, she's everything. Our dog is everything to us, and we're gonna do everything to save her." But they were wiping tears, and I saw other people wiping tears, and, I might have been wiping tears simply because I had a $5,000 vet bill I was facing, and also I didn't even know if my cat was gonna survive, but we love them very much, so, let's see here. Let's see, Ward, sounds like you're gonna have some big bills coming up before too long. You might be directing that toward Heidi there. And unfortunately, I mean, Heidi, I hope you have pet insurance, or I hope, in fact, anybody out there has pets, I hope you have pet insurance. My premiums keep going up and up and up, but I'm not gonna relinquish it because I don't want to ever go through getting hit with a bill like that again. And let's see, Renee's asking, do I have renter's insurance? Yes, thank God. I do have renter's insurance, and I've had that for since the last apartment I had, and I just transferred it here. And the reason I got that renter's insurance was because in my last apartment building, water pipes had suddenly started bursting in random apartments. And this was happening 2 days before I was going to fly to Hawaii for a week. I was gonna go to Honolulu, and I thought, "Oh my god, can I even go on my trip now? Can I leave my apartment alone? Am I gonna be in Honolulu worrying the whole time if my apartment is flooded?" Because someone was telling me that happened. One of the apartments actually got flooded with 4 feet of water. 4 feet of water, and the poor dog was soaking wet, was on top of the couch, whimpering in fear, you know yeah, 4 feet of water, and, here's the real kicker, it was caused by the building manager who did it deliberately. Well, I mean, this was a should I say it, a shitheel? Can I say that? A shitheel of a person? Um, Not a good building manager, obviously, and he got into a big dispute with the owners of the building and decided to go down to wherever the wheel was that controlled the water pressure in the building, and he turned it way, way up and deliberately caused people to get their apartments flooded. And, I was sca I didn't know this at the time, of course, I found it out later, but I was just scared that my apartment was gonna get flooded because even the apartment next to me got flooded, and I was so didn't know what to do. So I called my insurance company and I got renter's insurance. And I think it's like 25, 30 a month for me, which isn't that bad, but it does give me some coverage. And I don't know if it would cover the water damage here, but I'm going to see what happens. This was not my fault. So I hope they're not going to blame me for it, but we shall see. But thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, Kelly Jackson, Chuck water emergencies are so stressful. At least you're able to laugh. I'm surprised I'm able to laugh, actually. But yes, very stressful, especially when you wake up. It's the way you start your day. Wake up with knock, 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 knock on my door, and Chuck, are you home? Are you home? Are you home? And I'm like, because I'm a night person. I tend to stay up late, and so this is like 9:30 in the morning, and I went to bed like 3 a.m. or something. So I was just dead to the world and I was barely conscious and I didn't even make it to the door, but it did wake me enough to walk into the bathroom. I thought, oh, I see why he's pounding on my door. So I went out, put a robe on, and just ran downstairs. And sure enough, there was all this water gushing down his ceiling. And it's just not good, not good. That's why I'm wondering what my horoscope would say today about water and blockages and leaks. Oh, yeah, I guess we do have to find a way to laugh about it. We really do. And well, that that's been said by many great comedians, like Charlie Chaplin, Lucille Ball, Buster Keaton. They all mentioned that the greatest comedy almost always comes out of tragedy. And how many of us have had a tragedy where the last thing in the world we want to do is laugh about it, but when you can look back on it, say with the perspective 5 years later, 10 years later, or something like, well, that was pretty wild, wasn't it? Lord, I'm still in. Oh, Danny, hello. You're asking how I am. I'm well, Danny, if you're watching the show, it's been a very, very stressful day for me, and I'm doing my best. Yeah. Oh, Heidi, I just saw your comment. I'm sorry, I haven't applied. Life kind of blew up. Oh, Heidi, I understand. Please don't worry about that. I just wanted to make sure everything's okay. I don't care otherwise. You take your time. Okay? It's okay. I get it. I really do. I just wanted to make sure everything is all right. And Danny, thank you for asking me about me. And folks, forgive me also if I do miss some names here because I really try my best to respectfully honor each and every one of you for coming on here. And as I said, you're the reason I am on here right now because of this day. I otherwise would just said, oh, hell, doing a show today. I've had too much. I've had too much today. This has just been, oh, and on top of it, I didn't get enough sleep. I would have probably slept in another hour had I not been so rudely awakened, pounding on my door, and then seeing Niagara Falls going from my apartment into his. Um, but let's see, board. I'm sorry you're so in limbo with your car in the body shop for 2 months now. Oh no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hopefully you at least have rental cars and things like that, but I know that can get very expensive if your insurance doesn't cover it, and that's also a pain because you just want your own car. Uh, it's most of us want our own car. Um, Depends on what kind of car I'm driving at the moment. There have been a few times where the rental car has been much nicer than the car I'm driving, and I don't wanna give it up, you know? Let's see, what are some other comments here? What was this, Danny? Our insurance in our family doesn't have pet insurance, unfortunately. Oh, I'm so sorry. Um, I didn't own my last cat, but because of that very bad experience, when I got Sasha, you've seen little Sasha when she comes in here, makes her appearances, walks across the screen, tries to jump on the laptop, and I have to grab her before she gets on here. When she was 10 weeks old, I think within 2 days I had her insured because I just said, "I can't." I emotionally, I couldn't go through it, but financially, I couldn't go through that again. and she's gonna be 11 years old in March. She's got some allergies, some skin allergies, but other than that, no health problems just as of yet. And I even hate use the word yet, because that sounds like I'm expecting it to happen. I hope not, because she's been very healthy. And I bought her from a responsible breeder. That's the problem, like with pet store dogs and cats. We hear all the horror stories about the puppy mills. And this was a lovely lady named Diane Kramer in San Diego. And I can tell you, if you're ever looking for a Siamese cat, she breeds carefully and responsibly to ensure that her cats are healthy and strong. And she avoids things like inbreeding, which happens a lot with Siamese cats. In fact, I was even told it's why the breed is not seen so much anymore. Siamese cats, like in the 1950s and 60s, used to be quite common. It was a very, very popular breed of cat. Um, Hence movies like Lady and the Tramp. Remember Cy and Am, the two Siamese cats? That Disney movie, That Darn Cat, which was Siamese, which actually, when I was a kid and I saw that, that was what instilled my own love of Siamese cats. But it's my understanding, because there's been so much inbreeding with Siamese cats, unscrupulous inbreeding. Um, there aren't so many of them around anymore. They're harder to get. And I found that out when I did an online search to get another Siamese cat after my beautiful Charlie passed away. I told you he died of cancer and he was 14 years old. And that just about devastated me. I've so bonded to him. And he died just almost within a minute or two of the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve. He did not want to, his soul did not want to go into 2015. He was making that very clear to me. But I spent almost 6 months before I got another cat. And I did a lot of thoughtful searching. And I, of course, went online. And then I started to see for myself, oh my gosh, it's hard to find Siamese cats. They've really started to disappear. No, I mean, this may have changed. I've had Sasha over a decade now, so maybe the situation is different now, but that's what I found in 2015. Excuse me. And yes, I'm very aware we should go to animal shelters. Really, the conscionable thing to do is to adopt a dog or cat. But I just love the breed, Siamese cats. I love their intelligence. I love their personality, or I should say their multiple personalities, and probably about 10 of them at least. And also they're such beautiful animals. They're very graceful. They're very poised. Um, Someone once said to me that they considered a Siamese cat to be a cross between a swan and a monkey. And it's true. They are a cross between a swan and a monkey. So I've had Siamese cats since I was 10 years old. And I've always said, well, okay, I'll go to a shelter. I'll just get a quote unquote regular cat. But I always go back. I just love them. I love them so much. And I love the Siamese I have right now. And she just loves everybody right back, including my plumber. I thought she'd go home with my plumber in all probability. They just bonded in the bathroom while he was trying to snake the drain of my sink and get to the bottom of why I had Niagara Falls this morning. But anyway, and Chris, thank you. Thank you for joining. It's good to have you here. How cold is it in Chicago? Because what happens? There's this weird thing with the pressure fronts in the United States. Whenever the East Coast and the Middle America gets a cold wave, it seems to push all the heat out to the West Coast, because we're in the 80s right now. You can probably see I'm even sweating right now. It's been a hot day. I came this close to putting my air conditioner on. Yes, my air conditioner. I'm saying that to those of you on the East Coast who are probably buried in snow right now, but it goes the other way. We will get a cold front out here, or it'll get very rainy and yucky, and then you guys get the heat wave. It's just that pressure system goes back and forth, and right now we're supposed to have 80-degree weather for several more days here. The As the weather forecasters say on the local stations, "This is the reason we live in Southern California." You know? And some people are envious about that, it's like someone was once saying to me, one of the worst things for California, because we do tend to be overpopulated here, because so many people, like myself even, wanted to move out here. This is come out to Hollywood, come out to LA, come out to pursue your dreams, come out to pursue this incredible Southern California weather. And a friend of mine said, "You know what I blame it on? The Rose Bowl parade on New Year's Day." Every year people watch the Rose Bowl parade, live coverage, and usually it's people on the East Coast and in the Midwest where they've got ice and snow and they're freezing and it's sub-zero and they just see La La Land in bright sunshine and flowers and people out there in their shorts and their tank tops. And my friend said that's what plants the seed in people's minds to come move to Southern California, and why we're so damn overcrowded right now, and why it's so expensive to live here. And there could be some validity to that. Let me scroll through some comments here, and also keep in mind my plumber's going to knock on the door any moment. I may have to leave you for a moment. Let's see here. I just lost my comment here. Kelly Chakowski. Did I say that right? I hope I did. Kelly Chakowski. I try to pronounce the names right. And any of you who watch me on Dr. Whimsy's show on Tuesdays and Thursdays know that sometimes I struggle with that. And sometimes I wish there was like a phonetics spelling underneath the names so I could get the name right. And I do that again, it's because I care to be respectful of you. But anyway, my hubby and I sobbed when it was time for us, and when it was time for our last dog to cross the Rainbow Bridge. Pets become such a large part of our lives, and their absence is hurtful. Well, yes, they're with us 24/7, especially since I started working from home more than 5 years ago. I am here almost all the time now. So my cat is very used to me, and I'm very used to my cat. And my cat even sleeps with me. My cat is always with me. So yeah, it'll be hard. It's going to be very hard when it comes time. And when you're a little kid, and you're told your dog or cat's going to live 15 years or more, that sounds like an eternity, especially when you're only like 8 or 9 years old and you haven't even reached that point yet yourself. So it's very interesting now as we get to these mature years of our lives. 15 years is nothing. It is a blink of the eye. It's like when my Charlie died. It was like seemingly I had just brought him home from the pet store and now he was gone. I guess I remember I bought him in a pet store, and I know I was saying all that about puppy mills and all that. This was a private pet store where they bought from independent breeders. They did not buy from puppy mills. And Charlie, my other cat had passed away, and I saw him in the pet store. And every day I'd come there to visit him, and we started bonding. He was in the cage, and I put my finger through there and touch his paw. And I started to realize, one day I may walk in here and he's going to be gone. Someone's going to have bought him. And it was my friend Evelyn Keyes, the 1940s movie star that I've mentioned from time to time. Evelyn Keyes adored Siamese cats. She had them for many years. And she said to me, "Chuck, you must. I still, because she had that very theatrical actressy way of talking that was very earthy, but it was still, Chuck, you must get this cat. You just must. It's meant to be. And I realized she was. So I brought him home. At the pet store, they gave me one of those cardboard pet carriers. I literally brought him home in a cardboard box when he was about 4 months old. And when it flashed forward about a little over 14 years later, when he was dying of cancer, a very good friend of mine gave me a large boot box, boots that come in, boot box. And she said, "Here, take this. You're going to need this." And yeah, he died about 3 weeks later. And I had to take him to the Pasadena SPCA to be cremated. And I might as well throw this part in because I told you he died on New Year's Eve. Everything was closed on January 1st. How I said how everything seems to happen on a holiday, you know, and it keeps you from doing things you need to do that are very important, like today for me getting a plumber. Well, there was literally no place to get him cremated on January 1st. So, and some people think this is horrible, but we're those of you who have pets know we do what we have to do. I wrapped his body up in plastic, wrapped him up really good in plastic, and I put him in my freezer. I didn't know what else to do. What was I going to do? I couldn't have him just there dead and decomposing in my apartment. I put him in my freezer, and then the next morning, I took him to the Pasadena SPCA. And this is my little public service thing here for any of you who ever have to go through the loss of a pet. Be forewarned, pet cemeteries, crematoriums, that type of thing, they will rob you blind. They will play on your emotions and play on your guilt and sometimes charge you hundreds of dollars just to cremate a pet. I don't know what the SPCA charges now, but in the year 2015, they only charged $65 to cremate a pet. And I thought that was just beautiful. I mean, really, to not take advantage of people, to have a price that was reasonable and accessible. And they did a really nice job. I got his ashes back about a week later. Yeah, it was rough. I had to pick those up. But he was in a little tin with a little silk flower they'd put on top, and then they put it in a purple velvet drawstring bag. A purple velvet drawstring bag. And to this day, I have that little bag with his ashes in my china cabinet in my kitchen, along with the little sharing urns of my mother and my father. Not to be morbid here, and just a few little ashes, my late friend Bart Andrews. Not that I turned my china cabinet into a cemetery, but I wanted to put them in a place of honor, and so that's where Charlie is. And I just want to tell you all of that. If you, God forbid, you ever need that service, go to your SPCA. It's very affordable, and I was treated well, and I was treated with compassion too. Real compassion. The people who work in those places usually are there because they love animals and they love people. Because I was a mess. I was a mess. Because going back to what I was originally saying, I brought Charlie home in a cardboard box. I took him out in a cardboard box. And I had that cardboard box on my passenger seat, and I had to drive to Pasadena. And I don't mind telling you, I was like, ah, he was all hitting me. It was just awful. And I went in there and I was so devastated. And the people behind the counter hugged me and spoke to me with compassion. And when I came to pick up his ashes, I was still getting compassion. And one of the things I did do, because I was there anyway, I thought, well, I can't get another cat now. I don't want to get another cat now, but I'm gonna go look at the cats now. So I said, "Where are your kitties?" I went back there and looked at the cats, and I had my little box with the flower on top of my little velvet drawstring bag, and all the workers looked at me and said, "Oh, dear, you just lost your baby, didn't you?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah." Oh my god. But, it's just what do we say? It's just, s God, I hate using cliches, but it's the circle of life where our pets are gonna do it, we're gonna do it, and like I was talking a couple of weeks ago, because I do pick up so well on energy from spirits, like I was talking to you, Andy, about your mother, and I was telling the story about my mother, how I could feel her energy in the room. I said to you, it's like when you have your back turned, but you know a person's energy well enough, they're behind you. That's how I describe it. And I could feel my mother's laughter. And my mother was just, and I've had other people tell me the same thing. They have felt the laughter from their loved ones, and they've known it was them. And it was my mother just saying, "Don't be sad for me. This is a happy place. I'm glad to be out of that body. I love it here. Ooh, this is great." It was like that kind of energy. And it was my mother reassuring me. So I even know with Charlie, he's fine. And I love that idea of the rainbow bridge, the whole thing about how we transition to the other side and we're greeted with all of our loved ones, but we're also greeted by all of our pets. I think, wow, that's cool. And this is awful to admit this, terrible to admit this, especially if my mother and father are listening, my grandmother is listening. But honestly, if that's true, the first thing I want to see are my pets. I, I just think that is the coolest thing, to be greeted by every pet you ever had in your life from childhood on, all the dogs you ever had, all the cats, and you got them all together. I'd be like, sorry, mom and dad, sorry, grandma. I'm spending time with my dogs and cats right now." And not just my dogs and cats. I mean, I'm sure my hamster from 4th grade is there. And Dylan, my cockatoo, and no, it's oh god, you don't want to hear all the names of all the pets, but I've had everything. I have had aquariums, I have had birds, I've had cats, I've had dogs, I've had hamsters, I've had turtles. Oh, I think my mother put her foot down when I wanted to get a snake. And I realized now my mother was right. That wasn't a good idea. But as a kid, I thought, "Woo, this is kinda cool." But, yeah, I wanna be greeted with all my pets. I'll be spending time with them. It's gonna be hard to tear me away from them. Um, yeah. Anyway, where's some other comments here? What was this word? You said sometimes you have to laugh to keep from drowning. Yeah, today. That's not too far of an exaggeration. I almost feel like Shelley Winters in the Poseidon Adventure swimming underwater. Oh, let's see here, Andy, and I hope you're doing well. And Andy, I hope you know I'm not in any way making light, because I know you lost your mother, and I've gone through it. Many of the people here have gone through it, and we all have our own approaches. But I found for myself, it did help to laugh sometimes, because I would think of all the memories of my mother, and come on, sometimes there are just ridiculously absurd things that come to mind and things that we remember. And I told once I gave a funeral eulogy for a friend of mine, and I had never done that before. But I just opened up my heart and started talking, and I had some ideas. But what I ended up talking about were funny things that we had done together, outrageous things we had done. And her family came up to me afterwards and said, "That was just perfect. You honored her. You nailed her. You described her as she was." And like we didn't want boo-hoo-hoo crying. It was good that you made some jokes. You made people laugh because that's part of life itself. So I was actually honored by that. Kelly, we had a oh my God, we had a sewer line break about 3 years ago. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Oh dear God, Kelly. A sewer line. I don't even, I empathize with you, but I don't even want to fathom that one. Gee, oh my God. Andy, what about all the comedians making fun of the California weather? Oh yeah, it's going on a lot. There's a Marx Brothers movie where they open the door and it's downpouring rain on the other side of a full sun. Yeah. Yeah. Well, even here in Southern California, the weather forecasters make jokes about it because it's almost stereotypical about Southern California. Sorry, I'm going to turn this off here. Um, wasn't my building manager, somebody else, but she may be calling me. By the way, I said that at the beginning of the show. People didn't hear it. I'm waiting on my plumber to come back from Home Depot to finish the issue in my bathroom. And he may be calling. My building manager may be calling. And there we go. I turned that off again. So this is just one of those loose canon shows that's going to go wherever it needs to go today. But I'm at least here for you. But yeah, weather forecasters will make jokes about the weather here because it's so stereotypical. The perfect California weather where we almost do get 9 or 10 months of continuous sunshine and summer here. Like right now, it's well into the I don't know the exact temperature, but it was in the 80s today, enough to make me break a sweat considering putting my air conditioning on. But I think there was one weather forecaster here when we had on NBC4, Fritz Coleman, who also was a real life stand-up comedian. And I saw him at one of the comedy clubs here in LA. And he was joking about it, how challenging it is for a weather forecaster here when the weather never changes. It's like, hey, folks, guess what? It's going to be sunny again. That was almost his stance there. I'm sure all the weather forecasters have that little challenge. Like, how do we make this interesting? When it's just going to be more of the same. Of course, then I think about the time my sister came out here for a visit I think it was January or so. And she wanted to come out here and go to Disneyland. And this is where we normally get our big rainy season. And I mean big rainy season. I said we go like 10 months or so without rain. Well, guess what? When rainy season hits, we get it all at once. I mean, it comes down hard and sometimes it will not let up for hours and hours and hours, just coming down as hard as it can come down. That's why you hear about the flash floods and you hear about the mudslides because of all these people who are so clever to build their homes on stilts on the sides of mountaintops, like in the Hollywood Hills. And hence, when we get an earthquake or the ground gets off from a mudslide, guess what? Any of you who watch the news coverage of Southern California see those houses sliding down the hill and going down the muddy river. And not making jokes. Well, trying not to make a joke about that because that is really tragic. But I remember Laurel Canyon. Any of you know Los Angeles? It's a big route for people who want to go from West LA to the Valley. Particularly, well, for my case, from West Hollywood into Studio City and Burbank. And there was one time because I had to go every Monday. I had an acting class with Dee Wallace in Burbank, and I would take Laurel Canyon. Well, there was this one time it was blocked off for almost a week, and the reason it was blocked off, there was a house in the middle of the road that had fallen down. It was like Dorothy's house in The Wizard of Oz, the house that fell on the witch's sister and her ruby slippers, her legs were sticking out of the house. It was literally like that. A house in the middle of the road. And it took a long time to get that house cleared away, and we had to be rerouted. And we're talking about a major thoroughfare. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Laurel Canyon gets like 40, 50,000 cars a day. It's one of those 24-hour streets. So you can imagine the chaos there. Um, let me see some other comments here. Ward, that must have been nasty to clean up, and the stench must have taken an age to get rid of. I don't know if you were talking to me or to Kelly there, but I'm assuming Kelly because of the sewer line. This is something I'm worried about because I'm worried now about mold, water that went under floorboards and stuff. I'm scared to death now. I'm going to start to get that mold smell and stuff. So I'm just trying my best to stay on top of it. And interestingly enough, because I mentioned a while back, I've been working on cleaning and organizing my apartment, and I've been throwing out a lot of stuff, and I had all these excess towels I almost got rid of. And something said to me, "No, you may need these. Keep these." Well, guess what? It was because I had all those towels, I probably saved my apartment, the apartment down below. I was just mopping, and wringing out, mopping and wringing out, and right now I've got a whole clothesline outside with wet, soggy towels hanging up and soggy bath mats. My bath mats, I was, like, wringing them, and all this dirty water was coming out, and it's like, yuck. Yeah, I'll probably just buy new bath mats, but I did what I had to do. I have this really fabulous 1941 apartment building, and it's this really great neighborhood with mid-century modern architecture and things going back to the 20s and 30s. Well, even though we have washers and dryers in our laundry room, they kept the laundry line up. The laundry line, I guess, had been up for decades. And I first saw it and I moved here. I thought, well, that's kind of quaint. And people said, "Oh, you'll love the laundry line and use it." And I tried it out. I fell in love with it. I don't even like using a dryer anymore because when you hang your clothes up and let them dry, in the sunshine and the breeze, I don't know why this is, but the clothes smell sweet and they're soft. You know how we have to put those softener sheets in our dryer and all that? You don't have to do that. When you hang your clothes up and just let them dry naturally, they dry so nice and soft. And also, your clothes don't wear out as quickly. Dryers can be very damaging to clothing and to fabric. So I love my clothesline. No, I'm sure you didn't need to hear all that, but that's my little spiel here. Oh, Kelly, yes, she wrote, "Ward, it was the smelliest, nastiest mess. It still haunts me." I'm sorry. I am sorry. I can imagine. And Andy, it is 6 degrees here in what, Geneseo? Did I say that right? Geneseo, Illinois, but 6 degrees. And my friend Chris is in Chicago. So, hey, Whimsy, thank you for joining. Hey, Whimsy, I was telling everybody my story about my bathroom getting flooded this morning. I sent you a text. I was really freaking out when I sent that text. Woke up this morning, someone pounding on my door, my neighbor down below, "Chuck, wake up, wake up. There's water coming through my ceiling." And I go in my bathroom, and there must have been at least an inch of water in the bathroom, in my hallway, because there was a clog deep down in my sink. And there, my faucet, I don't know if Sasha, my cat, hit it or something. It was like this little trickle of water, but because I'd been asleep for about 7 hours or more, it was just during the night, the water filled up the sink and started overflowing. And anyway, and I'm telling you this, Whimsy, because I don't know if you just joined in, but I've told all the viewers here I may have to cut the show short. Trying to not lisp, I say that, the show short, because my plumber is about to come here any minute from Home Depot to finish the job. He's been here for quite a long time. It has not been a good day. But Whimsy, my dear, dear friend, Dr. Whimsy Anderson, and Whimsy, I consider you family, and you've said you feel that of me. We're very, very close, and we used to work together here in West Hollywood. I said here in West Hollywood. I'm not here anymore, uh, but that we've worked together a long time, and now we're doing something that we're both very proud of on her channel, the Oracle Whimsy. I might as well work in a quick plug here. We're on twice a week. Taco Tuesdays and Hot Topics Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Um, I'm proud to be doing that, and I'm just honored to be working alongside Whimsy. And Whimsy, I'm sure you don't mind me saying that our numbers are growing quite a bit. People are responding, and um, there's this little show here, and I mean, this little show doesn't get anywhere near that audience, and part of that's my fault because I need to start working on this channel. I need to start working on making more original videos, and that is part of my game plan for this year. As Whimsy, who has been talking about Chinese astrology quite a bit on our shows, this is the year of the fire horse. And in my particular case, because I am a metal rat, it's basically a year of either do the work, really get organized, really stick to my goals, and really work hard, or the fire horse is gonna be problematic. Let's put it that way. It's going to work against me. So far, I've been really diligent about this. It just takes time. It takes time. I've been making my lists. I've been adhering to them daily. Today got sidetracked. Today got waterlogged, but I will be back on course tomorrow. Tomorrow is, of course, Taco Tuesdays, the show with Whimsy, and it will be Tuesdays and Thursdays are big days for me, in addition to my regular work duties. Um, you know, Talking to Whimsy's patients. And by the way, Whimsy, I will send you a text after the show because one of your uh, recent patients had a message for me to give to you. She's very happy with you, but just a message to give you, and I'll send that to you afterwards. Um, Whoa, I lost my train of thought there. Oh yeah, I was saying Tuesdays and Thursdays tend to be busy days for me because it's my regular work, but I do my homework. I have to do my homework, because we talk about current events. And because the news is ever changing, it's not like you can just do this the day before or 2 days before. I mean, you can, of course, because you got to follow it. But the actual news events of the day, you've got to do that fresh that day. So my day is usually like getting on the internet. What are the top stories of the day, the top 5 to 10? And then I start researching them. And then I also read my newspapers. Uh, One of the reasons is I subscribe to the New York Times. I also have my podcast. I always try my best to listen to Heather Cox Richardson, Mary Trump, David Pakman, um, Pete Buttigieg when he has something on. There's fabulous stuff, but I really, really cram. I'm cramming right up until almost, well, okay, 4:45 p.m. because Whimsy and I have our little pre-show meeting, and we go on at 5, and so I'm cramming. In fact, even after 4:45, I will still be here with my notebook and my iPad, and I'm writing things down, and then I'm just hoping and praying that when we go on live, it's all up here in my head and it's not all scrambled. But I guess we do pretty good. We do pretty good. But and I do love being versed in the news and being on my toes, actually. I know for a lot of people, it's extremely hard to watch the news right now. I'm not going to go into all the politics here, but it's a painful time. It's a difficult time. The things that are going on right now, and I have people who tell me I cannot watch the news anymore. I can't listen to it. It depresses me too much. And my response is usually, well, it's actually my job. I have to keep up with it. But part of me, yeah, I'm horrified too, some of the things going on. But I'm the type of person I would rather be informed. I'd rather be on top of what's going on rather than be ignorant and be in the dark. And forgive me if the ignorant is the wrong word because I'm not calling anybody that, but I'd rather be informed, even when it's unpleasant. And because it's very important to face the truth head on. There's that saying, you have to face your dragon before you can slay your dragon or deal with your dragon, whatever, and um, well, Whimsy, I think you'll be proud of me here. I'm gonna little book club promotion here. Whimsy and I love to do this every month. Every month we interview an independently published author. And Whimsy picks out the books. She has impeccable taste, always picks out something extraordinary. And I just find it interesting because we've found this even ironic when we do our own show, how much this book, The Trouble with Truth, is applying to situations because, the part of the message of this book is about facing your truth, even when it's painful. And I've known that myself, that that's where some of the biggest gifts are, even though it may be like, "Ew," when you're having to face it. But, you know, I do things like journal write, meditate, talk with other people, whatever. But ultimately, you learn so much about yourself that you would never want to go back to where you were when you didn't know this truth and you had faced it head first on. So, anyway, we are going to interview Elizabeth Kelly Stevenson tomorrow on the Oracle of Whimsy channel, Taco Tuesdays. We generally do this on the hour around 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's after we've done our hour show, and it's a half hour with the author. And it's been a great privilege for me because I love books. I love reading, as does Whimsy. And how many of you have had that experience where you've read a book, where you felt connected with the author, and you think, I'd like to have a conversation with this person. I want to talk to this author. And I've had that experience. I've actually known several authors personally, like my beloved Shakti Gawain, who wrote Creative Visualization, Bart Andrews, who wrote the I Love Lucy book. He and I became as close as you could possibly be. And to the point where after he had suffered some strokes, he asked me to help co-write a sequel to the I Love Lucy book. And of course, we ran into politics with CBS and Lucy and Desi's Children and some other things I won't go into here. And we even had Random House wanting to publish it. At least the senior editor of Random House wanted to publish it. But the money people shot it down because it was too expensive. It was at a time when the publishing industry was really suffering because it was in the midst of its transition between brick and mortar bookstores and online publishing, such as iBooks, and Amazon, that type of thing. And we got shot down. It was things like we were going to owe, I can't remember, I think it was 15% to CBS because they owned the rights to I Love Lucy. We were going to owe 10% to Lucy Arnaz and Desi Arnaz Jr. because they owned the rights to their mother and father's images. It was going to be $20,000 that we, the authors, were going to have to put up for the rights to the photographs. And then there were going to be all these legal fees because when you do nonfiction, you've got to have a team of lawyers comb through that manuscript for any potential liabilities, any kind of potential defamations and stuff. Anyway, we would have probably ended up owing money if we had published that book. That's why it never happened, but it was one of the richest experiences of my life. I worked so hard on that book for almost 3 years, but I loved it. I was passionate about it. I couldn't wait to come home from my day job and work on that book. I really couldn't. And that's the way I am. And Whimsy, you even pointed this out to me that when I'm passionate about something, I'm unstoppable. I had an astrologer tell me that. Oh, I see our Joyce Petrus isn't here today. I haven't seen her name come up, but she wasn't the one, but it was another astrologer who said to me, because of my Capricorn moon, he said, when you get behind a project you're passionate about, you are unstoppable. Yeah, that's me. I really am, really and truly. I better get back to some comments here. Uh, Whoa, Andy, you went grocery shopping and it was 7 degrees? Ah, I'm trying to fathom that because I remember um, my winters when I lived in Virginia, and I just lost my place here. Let me go back. Let's see. I'm so sorry. It just completely blipped on me again. When I try to scroll a little bit, it shoots past like a whole bunch of statements here. Oh boy, I really missed a lot of comments here. I am still scrolling back. Okay, hopefully I'll be back to where I was. I've got to go way back here. Jeez. Because I saw that comment. Andy said it was 7 degrees when we went grocery shopping. I'm trying to find it. Okay, I'm gonna find it here. This is where I'm trying to wing it and try to look spontaneous and natural, and I'm also reading comments here trying to find my place. Well, it's all human, and someone was telling me that about YouTube. Unlike traditional broadcasting where you're supposed to be all polished and perfect, I was told that that's part of the charm of YouTube is just warts and all, flaws, just being human and real. People relate to that. Well, this is being human and real here. Let me keep going here. I think I hear my plumber at the door. Just 1 second, please. Oh, come in. Come in. Hi. Just going in. I'm here doing a live stream right now. Thank you. Okay, we worked that out. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, I found Andy's comment about 7 degrees. And Renee saying hi to Dr. Whimsy. Nor Whimsy saying, I miss all my great friends like Chuck and Tawny. Yeah. Oh, we used to have fun. We used to, remember we went to like Bird's Restaurant on Franklin Street. I still would love to see Tawny again. Tawny's incredible. I interviewed Tawny on this show. It was one of the very first ones I ever did. Excuse me here. It was, I think I'd only been doing these like 3 months or something, and I had Tawny here in the apartment sitting beside me on the couch, and we had a really good interview. Tony Acosta, incredible lady. You know, I transitioned from being a man, now a woman, and she's a fabulous therapist who works with transsexual clients to help them with all of what comes up in transitioning. It's difficult. It's difficult. I think Tony told me it was like an 8-year process. And in my opinion, I brought this up in the interview, you have to have guts and courage, and, really, really want this, really know this is what's right for you. So I have great respect for anyone like Tawny who went through this and went through it so well. And now she's helping others. And that was such a privilege to interview her here today. I was deeply proud of that interview. Just I'm deeply proud of Tawny. But yeah, Whimsy, maybe somehow we can do some kind of reunion or something. Whimsy, we should have Tawny on our show sometime as a guest. It's just food for thought. What was it? Historical Wednesday. Have you found that many people are leaving since the movie industry is drying up? Well, I'm certainly hearing the stories about it. Now, if you're asking me personally, I haven't had personal friends leave for this reason. I know several actors, but I have heard enough stories. Well, first of all, enough people who are just fed up. It's true. And they say if you can do anything else in the world, do it. And that's usually coming from other actors because it's a heartbreaking. It can it can often be a heartbreaking business. It's just tough as can be. Um, it requires you to be extraordinarily sensitive and vulnerable because those are the tools that you work with as an actor, as an artist. And I think that applies to any artist. You're a writer, you're a dancer, you're a musician, painter, whatever. You have to have your vulnerability, your sensitivity, but at the same time, you've got to have rhinoceros hide skin. You have got to be tough as nails. You've got to be resilient. You've got to be one of those people where you can let things roll off your back. And frankly, a lot of actors and artist people I know are not too good at that one, because we are sensitive beings and you are continually auditioning, you're continually being judged. You're being assessed for your physical appearance, your flaws, your voice, your mannerisms. Any of you have gone on cattle call auditions, it almost comes down to where like you're a piece of meat, you know? Uh, they they're just looking for types. And many times what casting directors are trying to make it easy for the producers and all to just find because they've got the luxury of having so many people at a typical audition. So they can pick and choose sometimes dozens or even hundreds of people, and so they try to cast people who just are the characters. Basically, they can just be themselves. They just are that character. And, like my acting teacher, Dee Wallace said, oh, casting directors, when they find that, that is just gold. They just find the person who is exactly right, and often acting is. We hear that criticism. Oh, Katharine Hepburn just played herself in every movie. John Wayne just played himself in every movie. Well, yes, but they were bringing what was in their soul, what was in their mind and their heart to that character. Now, of course, a lot of them just got typed into that, and it became financially lucrative to stay in that persona if it was doing well at the box office. Hence, you had people like Katharine Hepburn who just played Katharine Hepburn for like 45 years or 50, no way, I think it's more like 50 years. Let me think, because okay, remember I said I have all this worthless information in my head. Her first movie was 1932, a film called A Bill of Divorcement. She came out to Hollywood already a star. She came from New York, and she was a star in her very first movie. Now, how many people get to do that? Just right off the bat, started off a star. So her first one was 1932, and her last film, unless you want to count a couple of television movies, but her last theatrical film was it was that remake of Love Affair with Warren Beatty and Annette Bening. And if you've ever seen Love Affair with Irene Dunn, or you've seen the version with Cary Grant and Deborah Kerr, but this was, I think, the third remake of it. It might have been the fourth. And of course, each one has the grandmother. The first one was Charles Boyer. Then it was Cary Grant, and I hope I said the right name for the first movie, A Love Affair. The first one was Charles Boyer and Irene Dunn. But there's this wonderful scene where they go to visit the grandmother. Well, Warren Beatty got it in his head. It had to be Katharine Hepburn. He four-time Oscar winner, Katharine Hepburn. He wanted to get like the most iconic woman he could possibly get, and he got Hepburn to do it. And I think that movie might have been 1994, 95, 96. I could look it up, but Hepburn, yeah, her career spanned from the early 30s all the way up to the early to mid 1990s. And anyway, how did we get on that track there? In fact, I don't even remember what it started me on that track there, but let me get another drink here. I'm thirsty because it's been hot here today. And I've also been stressed. It has been stressful. I still hear my plumber in the bathroom. I hear rotor-rooter sounds going on right now. He's still trying to get to the bottom of my big leak. um, let's see here. April Brady, I check watching from Ontario, Canada, standing in solidarity with you all. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. I have another dear friend, my friend Pam, in she lives in Canada. I almost said where, but she's a very private person, so I thought she wouldn't appreciate me saying it on the internet. So just my friend Pam in Canada, but she's been assuring me that Canadians are not blaming us per se, the citizens in America. They're blaming you know who in our government. So as an American, I just want to say to you, I appreciate you saying that. And I know that there are millions of other Americans who feel the very same way as me. We really appreciate this. My friend Pam said that living in Canada right now is like living in the apartment directly above a meth lab. Because there's just madness right now, which Whimsy and I will talk about in more detail tomorrow and Thursday. And Whimsy, you were saying I could not deal with the homelessness on LA Skid Row, but now every major city in America looks like it's true. I mean, it's heartbreaking here. Our homeless situation is particularly bad. And, I can't say this authoritatively, but someone was telling me this was when I used to work, and they used to do a lot of traveling between New York and LA. And they said more and more they were seeing the flights from New York increasingly filled with homeless people. And she said it's like a dirty little secret. They will put homeless people on planes and send them out here to Los Angeles because here at least it's warm most of the time and it's a little friendlier than being on the streets in a freezing cold place like New York City or wherever it may be. Now, I mean, that has never been verified formally, but because the homeless population is so enormous in Los Angeles, and it's not unusual to see the tent cities on the sidewalk. I mean, tent cities where people literally are putting up tents and people are covering themselves with old blankets and trash bags and sleeping bags. And yeah. And Whimsy and I both are deeply empathetic people. So it's hard to watch that firsthand, but it is going on elsewhere. Um, Andy Red, I'm not sure they're up for a Poseidon Adventure remake from Sir Chuck's large. Would you say they're large sea? I'm not sure what you mean there, but yeah, I joked earlier that my bathroom was almost flooded, and I could have done Shelley Winters in the Poseidon Adventure, swimming through the water. Let me carefully go through the comments here. Andy, you heard sirens. Well, when you live in a city like Los Angeles, you hear sirens throughout the day. There's always something, a fire, an ambulance. Should have been here when we were having some of our riots and things, where you'd also have helicopters up in the sky, fire engines, police cars. It's a dramatic city. It's a drama queen city, you know. But I love it. Oh my God, that's an interesting thing you pointed out, Andy. Jack Benny was born on Valentine's Day. I knew that, and he died the day after Christmas. I love Jack Benny. I've mentioned that I have a big collection of old-time radio shows, from the 30s and 40s, early 50s, and I think I have every one of the Jack Benny shows. And some of those, I think they go back to 1932. The humor holds up well, quite well, but you also had such a gifted cast. So even when you had a weak line, sometimes a really good comedic performer can take a weak line and they know how to time it and make it work much better than it deserves to. And I noticed that sometime with those old radio shows. Maybe what I need is a straw. I always feel so awkward when I'm drinking on the air, but today my throat is dry from the heat and everything. And Joyce, I'm glad you're here. Sorry if I missed you earlier. I was even commenting that I was wishing you were here. And Joyce, I will give you a call, or text you to make sure that we have everything all set up and ready, so we hopefully can have you on Thursday. We no pressure, Joyce, but we want you very much, and hopefully all the technical things are worked out. And maybe you and I can test it together to work. But I was going to give you the topics that we were going to talk about, and then Whimsy, I heard her talking to you the other day on her show. So hopefully you have the preparation, but you and I can talk if you have any questions or anything. Joyce is a gifted astrologer, and Whimsy and I are very excited to be having her, semi-regularly on our show as our resident astrologer. It supplements all the things we're talking about right now, and Joyce always has worthwhile things to say, including to me personally. You've helped me a lot. Joyce, yes, I know why I mentioned your name at the end of the show. I was telling everybody how I woke up this morning to my bathroom flooded and over an inch of water, and the water was going down through the floor to the neighbors down below. And I was just saying, I wonder what my astrological forecast said for today and for this week. Did it happen to involve water? Clogged pipes, clogged ideas, water, excess water. In fact, Whimsy might even have some things to throw on that with Chinese astrology in this year of the fire horse. Why did I get deluged with an ocean of water today? I mean, it was like an ocean in my home. And Kelly, I'm glad your vet's taking good care of Snoopy. And I told you when I was 8 years old, I had a dog named Snoopy also. And I'm going to move slower through these comments so I don't have the embarrassment of another blip. And Joyce, there's a book, The Rainbow Bridge. Yeah, that's a popular term. A lot of poems have been written about the Rainbow Bridge. And as I said earlier in the show, I have this fantasy of when I go to the other side, not ready to go there yet, got a lot to do still, but being greeted with, oh, there's Patches, my Cocker Spaniel, and there's Charlie, my Siamese cat, and there's, the one I want to see more than any is Sophie. She was a Lynx Point Siamese, the sweetest cat I ever had in my life. Had her almost 19 years. That was a hard loss. She died second week of January, 2001. Oh my God, it's been 25 years. Hard to believe. And I still feel her presence with me. I've told the story about how I found a jacket in my closet that I'd been looking for. And I'm just, my plumber here, I think he's still working. He's just going out the door. My wonderful plumber, unfortunately, I don't speak Spanish and he doesn't speak too much English. So I've had to have my building manager on the phone translate for us. So I always like to be gracious and polite when people come over here to work, and I hope he knows I'm appreciative, but I can't very well tell him because we don't understand each other. But anyway, he's going out to his car to get something. That bathroom's taking a long time to fix. He's been here like 2 hours now. But yeah, Sophie was her name, and I had here it is. I told oh, yes, of course. I told about how I found a jacket in my closet I'd been wanting to wear again, and I couldn't find it. I finally found it. It was covered in her cat hair. And I said, "There's no way I can have this jacket dry cleaned. There is no way I can take the I mean, I know I could probably take a lint roll or something, take the hair off, and then put it in a container or something like that. No, I'm gonna leave that jacket alone." Yes, some people may think that's really absurd. That's usually what they call hoarders. You're gonna keep that jacket in your closet that you can't wear because it's covered in your late cat's cat hair? And my response is, "Yeah. What do you wanna make of it? That's my choice. That's my right." I loved her so much, and that's physically all I have left of her is the hair on that cat. I know you cat and dogs owners, you know what I'm talking about. You may still think I'm a hoarder, and I am a hoarder, but no, I have things that are non-negotiable. And, while on that subject, the last time that I moved, that thing they say, well, you've got to have an impartial friend with you, and you hold something up, and they'll say, keep it, get rid of it, donate it, get rid of it, throw it out, throw it out. So I did that with somebody. And here it is more than 10 years later. I still miss some things that I throw away against my better judgment. And I realized ultimately we listen to ourselves. We listen to our own heart. We can take advice from other people, value that advice, weigh that advice, take it into consideration, but ultimately you listen to your own heart. You filter it all through that. And if it just intuitively does not feel right to you, act upon that. Just as I always say, if it intuitively feels right, act upon that also. Um, let's see here. Where's some other comments here? What was this word? Let's hope Dylan the cockatoo avoids Charlie the Siamese cat if they're still hungry. Let me think. Did I have No, I didn't have Charlie, and I had Dylan, but I had Sophie. Sophie the Siamese when I had Dylan, and they got along very well. Very well. I had his bird cage. I mean, bird cage. This was friggin' huge. That was probably not the brightest decision in my life to get a pet cockatoo, but hey, I've done plenty of things that may not have been the brightest thing, but they worked out well and they made me happy. I loved that bird. And Sophie used to sit on the edge of the couch about a foot away from the cage, and they just loved each other. And I was always letting Dylan out of the cage. Cockatoos, they love to walk across the floor. They'll fly a little bit, but mostly they're very, very gregarious pets. They're very loving and warm. They love to get on your shoulder, get on your arm. Sometimes the bird would sit in my lap while we were watching TV. And at one point, I had the Cocker Spaniel. I had Sophie, Siamese cat. I had Dylan the cockatoo, two parakeets, and a 20-gallon aquarium. So basically, there was no need to ever visit the LA Zoo because I lived in the LA Zoo. Uh, but I loved them. And it was so funny because I had pets encompassing land, sea, and air. And everybody, when we had the Northridge earthquake in 1994, yeah. In fact, it was Martin Luther King Day, 1994. So, yeah, 32 years ago. Everybody was asking me, well, isn't it true about animals how they can forecast an earthquake? They always know before it happens and they start warning you. I said, my pets didn't do a damn thing. They just slept through it. I thought that blows that theory out of the water. I had birds, I had fish, I had a cat, I had a dog, I had all my bases covered. And I'm sorry about the noise in the bathroom right now, the roto-rooter. They didn't act any different because of the earthquake. They didn't warn me of anything. It's like I told the story was it last week or the week before about my Cocker Spaniel getting into my suitcase and eating 8 of the Cadbury chocolate bars that I had brought back from London to give as gifts to people. That whole thing about chocolate being deadly poisonous to dogs. Not my dog. My dog must have had a cast iron stomach or something. All it did was just make her poop more, and she gained weight. Otherwise, she was a happy little thing. It happened while I was away at work, but I can just imagine her like rolling around on her back on the bed in joy as she's shoving chocolate in her face. I was so upset. Those were all my gifts for people. And then she was pooping. I'm sorry to say pooping purple tinfoil for the next 3 to 5 days because they were wrapped in purple tinfoil. What was Joyce? You're asking about Muppets? What are in what respect do you mean Muppets? Unless you mean Dylan the cockatoo and Charlie the Siamese cat. No, in this case, they were not Muppets. They were the real thing. Very much the real thing. What can I say? I love animals, but right now I only have the Siamese cat. There does come a point in your life, I think many of us would agree, when we get older, we want to simplify. And there's also that adage of been there, done that. I've had all the pets before. Right now, I love the simplicity of just one pet. And Sasha has the personality of about 10 animals anyway. So I get what I need from her. Or did anyone ever try to hold their breath as long as Miss Winters did in the Poseidon Adventure while swimming? I've never made it just sitting, much less swimming. Well, you know what? I was reading that Shelley Winters trained extensively. I don't know who the swimmer was, but it was a gold medal champion Olympic swimmer. She hired the swimmer to coach her. And Shelley, being the serious method actress, she just went all out. She gained 35 pounds for that role and always lamented the fact she could never take it off, but she gained the weight for the role, but she also trained with that weight, that she could hold her breath for long periods of time and she could swim for distances, because it was extraordinarily demanding. She did not have a stunt person. She insisted on not having a stunt person. She felt it was so essential to the movie that the audience see that it was her, when she's there swimming. I know Bette Midler used to make fun of her. Bette Midler used to get on a stool and hold her legs out and pretend like she was swimming. But there's the famous scene where she's swimming deep underwater and Gene Hackman is trapped under something and she lifts it up and frees him and takes him to the top. And of course, then she has a heart attack and dies. But it gave her an Oscar-nominated performance. She was fabulous. And I remember Shelley Winters was on Johnny Carson talking about it, The Tonight Show. And she said, if you watch the movie, you're going to notice I keep pushing my hair away while I'm underwater. I kept pushing it away. And she said, I did that because I wanted people to see it was me and not a stunt person. She wanted people to see her face. Oh, I loved Shelley Winters. I got to meet her once briefly. And I'm probably going to need to close soon because it's 7:30 and I've got preparation for the show tomorrow with Whimsy. I still have some more reading to do here and put my questions together. But anyway, let me tell this story. My mother in her youth, my mother and Shelley Winters were born, I think, within about 6 months of each other. They were very close in age from that era. And my mother was deeply proud that people kept telling her how much she looked like Shelley Winters. And this was when Shelley was very glamorous, blonde and glamorous, the curls on top of her head and everything, very 1940s, before she really became the serious method actress, like in A Place in the Sun, where she was dowdy and brunette. And in fact, there's even a story there how George Stevens, the director, did not want to cast her in the movie. And he said, she said, why not? And he said, you're too beautiful. You're too pretty for this part. It's just not going to work. So Shelley Winters went, had her blonde hair dyed brown, cut it short, and she took all of her makeup off and put on a really frumpy dress and coat, just made herself look really bad. And she knew George Stevens was going to be in this hotel or something, in the lobby or something. So she sat there in the lobby and he didn't recognize her. And she yelled out, Mr. Stevens, it's me. It's me, Shelley Winters. And he was shocked. He saw the, and he's, well, needless to say, she got the role, got an Oscar nomination for it. It's an amazing part in A Place in the Sun. And Shelley Winters has this thing about her 3 movies where she dies a violent death in water. This was the first one, A Place in the Sun, when she's in the boat with Montgomery Clift, and he's being forced to marry her because she's pregnant, and she's trying to say, well, we'll make it work. We'll have to struggle and it'll be hard. And he's sitting there because he's in love with Elizabeth Taylor and had this whole life with her. And he ends up hitting her over the head with the boat paddle, and she's in the water. And then there was Night of the Hunter. There's this iconic scene where I think she's in it like a car or something, and a Jeep underwater, and she's dead and her hair's flowing in the water and everything. And then, of course, the Poseidon Adventure. So very interesting thing about Shelley Winters. But anyway, my mother and Shelley Winters looked a lot alike, and my mother was deeply proud of that fact. And flash forward many years later, because my mother would even tell me, oh, everyone told me I looked like Shelley Winters, and I was so proud. So I had a friend, a wonderful actress named Kristen Anderson Grow. That was her married name. She was married to David Groh, G-R-O-H, David Groh, who used to play Joe on Rhoda with Valerie Harper. And Kristen and I and David became friends. Well, anyway, Kristen was very close with Shelley Winters. Shelley Winters had been her friend and her acting teacher. And David and Kristen were going to Shelley's 85th birthday party. And I said, would you please do me a favor? A special favor. I went out and got a picture of my mother at her most Shelley Winters I could find. I mean, I swear you could put the 2 women together. They looked like sisters. They looked so much alike. So I got that picture and I blew it up to an 8x10. And I said, my mother had passed away at this point, but I said, would you hand this to Shelley Winters and just tell her my mother was so proud to look like you. She was so proud. And Kristen told me that Shelley opened up the envelope and looked at it and really looked at that picture. And Shelley said, that was Shirley Shrift when she first came to Hollywood. Her real name was Shirley Shrift, and that's what she came to Hollywood, brunette like my mother, and playing her. She said that was Shirley Shrift when she came to Hollywood. And Shelley wanted to call my mother. And of course, Kristen then had to say, well, I'm sorry, but my friend Chuck's mother passed away a while back. She's not around anymore. He just wanted you to see this. But I thought, oh my God, my mother back in Virginia, the phone rings and it's Shelley Winters. Oh my God, my mother getting a call from Shelley Winters. That would have been so incredible. And I wish it could have happened. But I like to think my mother on the other side knows. Shelley's over there now too, so maybe they're both laughing about it right now. Okay, I've got to speed through these comments because I'm going to have to get off here soon. I've been on here an hour and a half. I love you all very much, but I do have some work I have to do tonight and also settle out with my plumber here. Let me go through quickly here. Well, oh yeah, Andy, you were asking about Anastasia. She will get back into her live streams. I know she's not doing one tonight, and I know she simplified and shut down some of her social media for a while, but she may come back to it. It's just her life is a bit complicated right now with her work, and I know how that is. Hence why I had to even downsize and not make so many videos here because they have other focuses. And I have my two shows with Dr. Whimsy and I have this. And so that's like a good balance for the moment. But at the same time, I know in this year of the fire horse, we always have to keep pushing ourselves and get out of our comfort zones and find new ways to balance. Let's see, and forgive me, I'm missing names of people, but I love you all. If I'm not calling out your name, Goddess Val, I think I saw Jim up there a moment ago. I'm afraid to scroll back and lose my place here, but you are deeply appreciated, whether I say your name or not. And Goddess Val, glad to hear you live tonight. I'm switching over to TV after hitting thumbs. I've had several people tell me that. In fact, Whimsy, if you're still here, I've had several people I've talked to who watch our shows say they put us on television instead of the computers. So I guess we become television stars, haven't we? No, that's very sweet of you all to do that. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to. Sasha, what are you? Sasha's here. I don't know if she'll come over. Come here, Sasha. Yes, will you come here? Well, she's over here in the corner. I can't reach her, and I'm not. Maybe she'll come here. And I see somebody sending me some hearts. I'm scrolling through here quickly because I've got to wrap this up. And Oracle Whimsy, yes, thank you. I'm glad you said it. We got Whimsy did the data, and we got about 5 million views for last month for our shows. And Whimsy keeps sending me more data and texts it to me, and I'm so honored, and I actually feel humbled by it. I don't feel ego. I don't, because I try my best not to focus on, oh, look at the numbers we're getting, or ooh, we're getting famous or something. I like to stay in the place I was in when we first started doing this, to just stay in the moment and focus on the love of the work itself, the love of the process, because I believe the other stuff just follows naturally. And I think, Whimsy, that's why we're getting all these viewers now, because you and I are just loving what we do. We're loving the people. Um, we get on there. I mean, we play off of our real life friendship. That's very real, and I think everyone resonates with that. And I've said this before. It was my wonderful acting teacher. Yes, Whimsy just said 5 million views across all platforms. My first thought, Whimsy, and I texted this to you, I'm happy for you because, Whimsy, you've worked so hard building all this, and you were so graciously generous to bring me on board with you. So that was honestly my first thought. Yeah, I'm happy for you, but I'm happy for me too. This is a great thing. And we'll just, it just increases the possibilities to reach more people. And I like to believe do some really good with this for people. I wouldn't want to work any other way. I'd like to work from the heart. I like to work from sincerity. But yeah, 5 million views. Good God. I never in my wildest fathomings thought we would reach that level. But what's exciting is we're building. It's growing. Like, it wasn't that long ago, it was 500,000, then went to 1,000,000, then 3 million. Now you're telling me 5. Not quite getting the numbers here on this channel, but as I've said, I know I need to put in the work. Whimsy and I have already talked about it. I know the directions I need to take the show, doing more readings for people, which I do on Whimsy's show, and I'm getting there, I promise that. But right now, on a day like this, especially with Water World in my bathroom, Poseidon Adventure. I'm trying to think all kinds of water themed movies, water parks, Marine Land, I don't know, SeaWorld, all this going on in my home. And I'm trying to see where Sasha is. I have to make sure she didn't go out the door. Um, hopefully she's in the other room. I've got to get off soon and go check on her. But yeah, this is exciting because we're building on it, and we're just going to keep on putting our heart into it and doing our sincerest best, reaching all of you. But thank you for all your words. And I just blipped here on my comments. I never have this problem. We do Whimsy Show. It's this show. Must be the format. But I'm seeing comments here about the weather. Joyce, where you are, it's going down to, I'm reading that correctly, -1 degrees. I think the coldest I was ever in my life was -5. That was cold. It was so cold. Remember back in the days when you used to get gas and you had to actually take a pen and sign your credit card slip with the carbons? Yeah, I'm carbon dating my age here saying that. But anyway, there's Sasha. Hi, honey. Come here. Come here, Sasha. Come here. I'm going to let her come here on her own. Come here, Sasha. Come here. Come here. Let me hold you up. Here she is. Let's see if I do this without. Oh, knocking over my computer. Look who's here. This is Sasha, the Siamese cat. I love her very much. And I'm so happy she came to join us on the show. She's looking a little stunned and like, am I on camera right now? Oh, nothing to be afraid of. People love you, Sasha. Joyce has a wonderful Siamese cat. Maybe, Joyce, when we have you on the show, we'll have you hold up Maya. But let me switch some other comments here. Wendy Burt said, we cancers are very passionate about our heart's desires. Oh, yes. Yeah. It's like it's so intrinsic to who we are. It's like there's no other way of living. It's like there's no choice, you know. What is this, Andy? Don't say stream to the plumber. He might try to plug up the leak. No, I don't think he would do that. I hope not. Let's see. Wendy Bird said Friday and Saturday, it's going to be -10 degrees. Oh, yeah. I was getting back to my story. When you had to take the pen and sign your credit card slip, it was literally so cold. And I had gloves on my hands, heavy gloves, but my hands were numb. They were too numb for me to hold on to the pen. And I had to go inside the gas station and wait 5 minutes for my hands to warm up enough so I could just sign the credit card slip. And I remember that, yeah, that -5 degrees and it was snowing. And I was trying to get home for Christmas. This is when I lived in Richmond, Virginia, and I had a 5-hour drive to my hometown, and I had 2 cats with me, and I was just praying that the heater was not going to go out in my car. Oh my God, with those 2 cats with me and everything. And thankfully it worked out. Ward, check out the late Suzanne Plachette's advice to aspiring performers from the MATV Legend interview. Oh, I've seen several of those interviews with other stars. They're always good. I met Suzanne Plachette once. Very nice lady. I'll check that out. Thank you for the suggestion. And I've got to speed through these here. I just keep seeing comments I want to respond to. Oh, yes, Ward. Lucy did say that about Bill Frawley. Bill Frawley was Fred Mertz. And there are many cases of actors where, like I was saying that about casting directors, that's actually the goal of many casting directors, to get that actor who just is the character, because it saves a lot of time. You see, casting directors are always thinking of the producers who are looking for the bottom line, which is to save money. And when you do film shoots, especially for television, I once did General Hospital. That was very fast. They had to shoot a 1-hour show every day. So you just zipped along. You got one chance to do your thing, and that was it. No retakes. So anyway, to save time, they often want actors who don't need a lot of preparation. They just already are that character, and they can just walk right into it in front of the camera and start doing it. But yeah, Bill Frawley was basically Fred Mertz. I've heard that from several sources. And yes, I am thirsty. Yeah, despite all that water, I am because it's been a dry day today. And because it was a stressful day, I didn't drink enough water today. I think that's why it's all hitting me right now. Um, yeah, Moore's mentioning about Mel Blanc, who was just a genius. I've seen his gravesite. It is carved on his tombstone. That's all, folks, which is kind of cute. Um, let me see. Forgive me. I'm going to go past some comments here because I've really got to wrap this up. It's 7:47, and I still have reading to do tonight. I'm admitting it. I still have the last part of the book to read. Um, but okay, drop down here. I know I've passed some comments. I'm so sorry. Um, let's see here, but oh yeah, people are commenting about Sasha. Yeah. Oh, Jim is mentioning she looks so much like the Siamese I had in the 70s and the 80s. Well, part of that is because Diane Kramer, the breeder in San Diego, the Siamese cat breeder, that doesn't sound right. Say the breeder of Siamese cats in San Diego said that was her objective, to get away from all of the modern inbreeding where they try to make the Siamese cat's face real narrow and the ears real big like a Martian alien, because she said all of that inbreeding has created some very sickly Siamese cats. Some of them don't even live more than 6 or 7 years. They're so frail. And so she wanted to go back to the old-fashioned Siamese cats, very hardy and sturdy. Um, she said, "Oh, don't be surprised if your Sasha lives to be at least 20 years old." And I got her when she was 10 weeks, and now she's 10 years old, gonna be 11 in March. She is an Aries, and yeah, Whimsy, my dear Aries friend, I live 24/7 with an Aries female. I have Aries female energy in my home. Oh, but I love her so much, and she's so friendly. She loves the plumber. Uh, I mentioned that, how she'd probably go home with the plumber. Um, let's see. Where's some of the comments here? Wendy, what were we saying about Scarlett O'Hara? Well, I don't know if you were saying that being like the character Vivian Lee. Um, oh God, I could tell stories there because I used to be acquainted with Marcella Rabwin, who was the personal assistant to David O. Selznick. And she told me she was in on the casting process and watching the screen tests and everything. And I'll save it for another show because I've got to go. But she did say when they were watching the screen tests, because like every major actress in Hollywood wanted that role. She said there was no question when Vivian Lee's test came up, David O. Selznick, everyone said, "No, we found her. That's her. That's her." She said it was so obvious. It was like you just knew it in your gut. She was Scarlett O'Hara. And she said Vivian Lee just had that fire in her soul that other actresses didn't have. But I'll tell more stories at another time. And also, my friend Evelyn Keyes played Sue Ellen, Scarlett O'Hara's younger sister, which, of course, was the title of her autobiography, Scarlett O'Hara's younger sister. So I have firsthand stories from her about the making of Gone with the Wind. Like share this one thing real quick, that scene where she gets slapped in the cotton field by Scarlett, and Scarlett chides her and says, "When you say you hate," I'm paraphrasing this, but when you hate Tara, that's like saying you hate mom and pa, but she slaps her. Evelyn told me that Vivian slapped the crud out of her for real. She said that was a real slap, almost knocked her out, and she almost saw stars. And also, well, I'm here. Might as well just tell this real quick. I asked her, "Well, did you have a friendly relationship with Vivian Lee? Did you two get along?" And Evelyn said, "Oh, good God, no." Please, Vivian was the star. I was just a little bit supporting player, a little peon. She didn't want to have anything to do with me. So I thought that was an amusing story, and I thought, what a refreshing account of a working relationship with Vivian Lee. Let's see, I think I'm almost at the end. I am at the end of the comments. This is fantastic. Okay, folks, it's 7:52 Pacific time where I am. And because, as I've said several times, I do need to sign out of here to do some work tonight and get ready for the show tomorrow. And still got my plumber in the bathroom, and I've still got a mess to clean up. I mean, a mess from all that water everywhere. I had to just pull everything out. And right now I've got towels on the line. I've got bath mats hanging, and I'd seriously doubt they're dry, but anyway, I want to thank you all so sincerely for coming here. And please, if you wish, you can watch me tomorrow and Thursday on the Oracle of Whimsy channel on my beloved friend's show, Dr. Whimsy Anderson's show, Taco Tuesdays, where she's Johnny Carson. And I guess I am Ed McMahon. I am Ed McMahon to her Johnny Carson. That's how we like to put it. But I love working with her on there. So I'll be on there tomorrow and be on Thursday. And hopefully it'll be a lot drier here by then, and hopefully much drier and more settled next week when I come on here at Monday. And I know it's supposed to be 5 p.m. It has been later because sometimes when I'm making my calls, it does spill over. And my first responsibility is to my actual work. And today I didn't get on here to almost 6 because of a very legitimate bathroom emergency, and not that kind of bathroom emergency, just what I've talked about. And, oh yes, and Ward, thank you for mentioning that. Happy 80th birthday, Dolly Parton. I have met her, and like I've told the stories about certain celebrities, like I'm trying to hear what's going on over there. I don't know if that's my cat or it's the plumber, but I'm saying like camera. Oh, yes. Everything okay? Oh, it's all done? Oh, wonderful. Gracias. Thank you very much. We don't speak the same language. I can't wish him a good night, but I just want to hold on. I want to make sure my cat doesn't get out the door. Oh, Sasha, I'll be right back. There she Thank you. Okay, thank you. Bye. Okay, I am back. I am so sorry. At least that happened at the very end of the show. If any of you are even still here, you may have signed out, but I had to let him out the door and make sure my cat didn't get away. So anyway, I will be on Taco Tuesdays, Oracle of Whimsy tomorrow. I will try my best to get on here next week, closer to the actual time I'm supposed to do the show, but today was an emergency. I love you all very much. I appreciate you all very much, and I'm grateful. And I'm going to say goodnight for now. Bye.